The night was dark and heavy, the sky full of black clouds that moved like slow monsters above the ruined city. The wind was sharp and cruel, cutting through broken walls and empty streets. And in the middle of this cold world, a mother and her daughter sat close together, their small fire nothing more than a dying glow. The mother was tired, her arms weak, her body shaking from hunger. But she wrapped them around her daughter, trying to keep her warm. Her daughter's thin frame shivered against her chest, her eyes half closed yet still awake, because the cold would not let her sleep. They were aliens in this land, strangers who had lost everything when the war ended. Their home was gone, their family was gone, and the only thing left was the long night that seemed endless. The mother looked at her daughter's face and felt her heart break. She could not watch her freeze to death. She could not let her child suffer. She needed help, any help. And in her desperation she thought of the humans who walked the streets, the humans who once fought against her kind but now ruled these ruins. She whispered to her daughter, "Stay still, stay strong." And then she stood, wrapping the old torn cloth tighter around herself, her feet dragging across the cold stones as she searched for someone, anyone who might have mercy. From the shadows she saw him, a tall human, his coat heavy, his steps slow but strong. He carried a small pack on his back, and the glow of a lantern in his hand gave his face a hard shape. The mother's voice broke as she called, "Please, human, just one night with your blanket. My daughter is freezing, she will die." Her words cracked in the cold air, her pride falling like broken glass. She lowered her head, ashamed of what she said next. "Take me, take her, take anything, only give us warmth." The words stabbed her own heart, but she could think of nothing else. The human stopped, his eyes dark, his hand tight on the lantern. He looked at the mother, then at the little girl huddled by the fire, and his face changed, not with hunger, not with greed, but with something she could not understand. For a long moment he said nothing, only the wind spoke, brushing between them like a warning. Then his voice came quiet but strong. "I do not trade lives for blankets." The mother's knees grew weak. She thought he would walk away. She thought he would leave them to die. But instead he did something she did not expect. He took off his coat and placed it on the girl, covering her thin shoulders. The daughter's eyes widened in shock. Her small fingers touched the warm fabric, and she whispered, "Thank you," her voice soft like snow. The human bent down, his lantern light showing the lines of his face, tired but not cruel. "You both cannot stay here. The cold will kill you before dawn," he said, his eyes steady. "Come with me." The mother froze, her mind racing. Was this a trick? Was this the trap she feared? Yet his voice held no threat, only command, only certainty. She pulled her daughter close. "We cannot trust them," she whispered in her own tongue. But the girl looked at the man with eyes full of hope. And for the first time in months, the mother felt her heart hesitate. The human waited, not moving, only holding out his hand as the lantern light flickered. The choice was hers, and she felt the weight of it heavier than the cold. Finally, she lifted her daughter into her arms, her legs trembling as she followed the man, her voice breaking once more. "If this is a trap, then let it end quickly." But the human did not answer. He only led them through the broken streets, past the empty houses, past the eyes that watched from windows, until they reached a small door hidden between walls of stone. He opened it, the smell of warmth and bread rushing out, and for the first time the mother felt her breath catch. Could this be real? Could there still be kindness in this world? She stepped inside, the door closing behind them. The darkness of the night left outside, yet the weight of fear still heavy on her heart. Her daughter leaned against her shoulder, whispering, "He saved us, Mama." But the mother kept silent, because in her mind one question burned brighter than the fire inside the house. Why would a human save them? Why risk so much for strangers? And in that question the night grew deeper, because the answer was still hidden and the danger was only beginning. The door closed with a heavy sound, shutting out the freezing wind, shutting out the empty ruins, shutting out the night. The mother stood still, holding her daughter tightly in her arms, her eyes searching every corner of the small human house. It was not what she expected, no chains on the walls, no traps hidden under the floor. Instead she saw shelves with old books, a table with bread and fruit, and a small fire that gave the room a golden glow. The warmth touched her skin like forgotten sunlight, but she did not trust it yet. The human put down his lantern and spoke with a calm voice. "Sit, warm yourselves," he said, moving to the table as if nothing strange was happening, as if two aliens in his house were not a danger. as if it was the most normal thing in the world. The little girl pulled at her mother's sleeve, whispering, "Mama, can we eat? Can we stay?" Her eyes were wide, hungry, desperate for something more than scraps of ash and cold air. But the mother shook her head, warning her to be careful. Still, the human cut the bread, placed it on a plate, and slid it across the table, his hands steady, his eyes never sharp. "Never cruel. Food is food, no price," he said. And the daughter could not resist. She reached out with trembling fingers and took a piece, biting into it quickly, tears rolling down her cheeks as she tasted warmth for the first time in months. The mother's throat ached as she watched. Her pride told her to refuse, but her daughter's joy broke her defenses. Slowly, she took a piece too, chewing as if she might wake from a dream at any moment. But dreams were dangerous, trust was dangerous, and she could not forget that humans had hunted her kind not long ago. The fire cracked, filling the silence, yet outside the house another sound drifted in. The faint echo of voices in the street, human voices, loud and angry. "Aliens! I saw them near the ruins. They are thieves." "They are dangerous," someone shouted. The mother's heart froze. She looked at the human with fear, expecting him to run to the door, to drag them out, to deliver them to the crowd. But instead he moved to the window and pulled the curtain closed, his voice firm. "Ignore them. They see ghosts everywhere." The mother's hand shook. She whispered, Why do you hide us? Why do you risk your own people's hate?" But the human did not answer. His jaw was tight, his eyes shadowed by thoughts she could not read. The daughter leaned closer to the fire, her small hand stretched out, her face bright with relief. "Mama, we are safe now," she whispered. But the mother could not believe it, not yet. Safety was a word she had not known for years. Her eyes wandered around the room again. She noticed strange objects, a cracked helmet placed on a shelf, a metal badge with human writing, an old photograph of soldiers standing together, and in the corner, a box locked with heavy iron. Secrets, she thought. This man is full of secrets. The human noticed her eyes, his voice softer now. "You wonder what kind of man brings enemies into his home," he said, then turned away as if the answer was too heavy for tonight. The mother pulled her daughter into her lap. Holding her close, the girl was warm now, her breathing slower, her head resting against her chest. But the mother's own heart beat fast because she knew danger was not gone. Danger was never gone. Outside, the voices of neighbors grew louder. Footsteps came close to the door. Shadows moved in the crack of the curtain, and then a knock struck the wood. The mother jumped, her daughter woke with fear. The human raised his hand, signaling for silence. The knock came again. Stronger this time. "Open up. We know you are hiding something," a voice shouted, deep and full of suspicion. The mother's breath caught, her mind racing. She whispered to her daughter, "Be still. Do not speak," her own body trembling as she thought of what would happen if they were found. The human walked to the door, his steps slow, his hand resting on the handle. But instead of opening it, he shouted back, "I am alone. Leave me. Your fear makes fools of you." There was silence, long and heavy. Then the sound of footsteps fading, the neighbors leaving with curses under their breath. The mother's body relaxed for a moment. But her trust did not. She stared at the human's back, her voice low. "You could have given us away. You could have been free of us." The human turned, his face hard, but his words simple. "And what would I be then?" he asked. "Free, but empty." The firelight danced in his eyes. Shadows on the wall made his figure look larger, stronger, and for the first time the mother wondered if he was not just a man, but something else, something different from the others. The daughter smiled softly, whispering in her half-sleep, "He is kind, Mama." "He's kind." The mother said nothing. She only tightened her arms around her child, her mind full of questions, her heart full of fear, but also something new, something she had forgotten long ago. A spark of hope, and as the night grew deeper, the small house held 3 souls, each carrying secrets, each waiting for the storm outside to break through the door, because safety was never certain and kindness was always a risk. The morning came slow, gray light slipping through the cracks in the curtain, the small house still warm from the fire. The mother woke first, her body stiff from sleeping on the hard floor, her arms still wrapped around her daughter. She listened for danger, but the street outside was quiet, only the sound of birds on broken wires. The human was already awake, moving silently, his boots soft on the wooden floor. He placed a pot of water near the fire, his face calm but his eyes distant, as if his thoughts were trapped in another time. The daughter stirred, her small hand clutching the coat he had given her. She blinked at the light and then at him, her young face full of questions. She had grown up in war. She had learned not to trust, yet this man confused her. He was supposed to be an enemy, but he had not hurt them. He had not asked for anything. She sat up slowly, her voice small but clear. "Why?" she asked, looking at the human. "Why didn't you take me? Why didn't you take us like others would?" The mother froze, her breath catching in her chest. She wanted to hush her child. She wanted to silence the words, but the question was already in the air. Heavy and sharp, the human stopped moving. His back straight, his hands still for a long moment, then he turned, his eyes meeting the girl's without anger, only with something she could not name. "Because you are not a price," he said softly. "You are not something to be traded." The daughter tilted her head, trying to understand. "But everyone says we are less. They say we are nothing," she whispered, her voice trembling. "Mama told me humans hate us." The mother's eyes filled with shame. She wanted to speak, to explain. But the human spoke first, his voice firm now. "I do not hate you," he said. "I will never hate a child." The daughter's lips curved into the beginning of a smile, but the mother felt her fear grow. Words like these were dangerous. Kindness was dangerous. No man gave it without a reason. She pulled her daughter close, whispering in her ear, "Do not trust so quickly. Do not give your heart to words." But the girl looked up at her mother with soft eyes. "Maybe he means it, Mama. Maybe he is different." The human watched them quietly, then turned away, opening the locked box in the corner. Inside were folded papers, medals, and a torn flag. He pulled out an old picture and stared at it, his jaw tight, his breath uneven. The mother rose slowly, curiosity pulling at her. She stepped closer and saw the photo. It was him, younger, standing with other soldiers, all smiling, all wearing the same uniform. But on the edge of the picture she saw something else. A child, an alien child standing behind the soldiers. Eyes wide with fear, she pointed, her voice sharp. "Who is that?" The human's hand closed around the photo, his voice low. "Someone I could not save." The words made the room colder. The fire seemed weaker. The daughter leaned closer, whispering, "Is that why you saved us, because of that child?" The human did not answer. He put the photo back, locked the box, and walked to the window, pulling the curtain aside. The street outside was alive now. People moving, soldiers patrolling, their boots striking the ground with heavy sound. The mother felt her chest tighten. She whispered, "If they find us here, they will kill us. And they will kill you too." Her eyes searching his face for fear. But he showed none, only calm resolve. "They will not find you," he said. "Not as long as I live." The daughter's eyes shone. She believed him. She believed in his words. But the mother did not. She could not, because promises were fragile, and war had taught her that nothing safe lasted. Still, when night came again, the girl sat near the fire, her head tilted, her voice soft but steady. "Why do humans and aliens hate each other? Why do they fight? Why can't they stop?" The mother had no answer. Her lips pressed tight, but the human spoke slowly. "Because fear is easier than trust, because anger is easier than mercy," he said, his eyes lost in the flames. "But someone has to choose different. Someone has to break the chain." The daughter looked at him, her small hands curled into fists. "Then let it be you," she whispered. "You can break it." The human's face turned toward her, his eyes heavy with pain, yet in them a small spark glowed, a spark that made the mother's chest ache, because she saw her daughter's hope growing, and she feared what would happen if that hope was crushed. The night deepened, silence wrapped around the house. The mother lay awake, staring at the ceiling, her daughter sleeping peacefully at her side. But in her heart the question burned. Why did this man risk everything for them? Why did he save them? What did he truly want? And as sleep pulled her down at last, one thought whispered in her mind: secrets always have a price. And sooner or later the truth would come. The city at night was never silent. Shadows moved in every alley. Voices whispered behind doors. Boots of soldiers echoed like drums against the stone. And above all of it, the cold moon watched without care. Inside the small house, the fire burned low. The mother sat near it, holding her daughter, trying to rest. But her ears were sharp, listening to every sound outside, every knock, every step, because danger lived in every corner. The human sat by the window, curtain drawn just enough to let him see. His body still, his eyes alert. He did not sleep. He did not even look tired. It was as if he had trained to live without rest. Then the sound came, heavy boots in the street, the clatter of metal, the deep voices of soldiers. Search every house, the order is clear. No alien is to be hidden, one shouted. His voice carried through the dark like a blade. The mother's heart jumped. She pulled her daughter close, whispering, "Quiet, quiet," her hands shaking as the little girl buried her face against her chest. The human turned, his face sharp, his voice low but calm. "They are close, we must move," he said, opening the wooden floor near the table, revealing a hollow space hidden beneath. The mother's eyes widened. "You prepared this," she whispered, both shocked and afraid, but there was no time for questions. He guided them down. The space was narrow, dark, smelling of earth. "Do not speak, do not make a sound," he said, closing the floor above them, leaving them in blackness. The daughter clung to her mother, trembling, whispering, "Mama, I am scared." The mother kissed her hair, whispering back, "Do not fear, I am here." Though her own fear burned deep inside her, above them the door burst open. Soldiers marched in, their voices harsh. "Check everything, every wall, every corner," one shouted. Boots stomped, wood creaked, furniture was overturned, the sound of hands pulling books from shelves. The mother held her daughter tighter, her breath slow, careful. Every second a storm inside her chest. She imagined the floor ripping open, rough hands dragging them out, bullets in the night. But then she heard the human's voice above, steady and hard. "I live alone." "There is no one here," a soldier's voice replied, sharp and suspicious. "We heard talk. Neighbors say you bring things home, food for more than one. We will see for ourselves." The sound of footsteps came closer, closer to where they hid. The mother shut her eyes, praying to gods that no longer listened. Then the sound of a table crashing, a chair breaking, soldiers cursing. Nothing. "Only dust and scraps," one said angrily. "This house is useless," another voice. Mocking. Strange, a soldier of the old war living alone. "Maybe he keeps ghosts for company." Laughter followed, cold and cruel. The mother's nails dug into her palms, but then the boots grew distant. The door slammed shut. Silence fell. The floor above creaked, the wood lifted, and light spilled into the hidden space. The human's face appeared calm but pale. "It is over, for now," he said, offering his hand. The mother climbed out, pulling her daughter with her, her legs weak, her voice breaking. "Why do you risk yourself?" "They will kill you if they discover us." The human looked at her, his jaw tight. "Better me than you," he said. "Better me than the child." The daughter looked at him with wide eyes, whispering, "You are brave." But the mother only shook her head, whispering in her own tongue, "Or foolish." The human cleaned the mess the soldiers left, setting chairs back, shelves upright, his movements slow but steady, as if he had done this many times before. The mother watched him, suspicion and gratitude battling in her heart. She wanted to ask him why. She wanted to demand his truth, but her throat closed, because maybe she was afraid of the answer. When the night grew quiet again, the human sat by the fire, his face lit by the orange glow. He said nothing, only stared at the flames. The daughter leaned against her mother, whispering, "He saved us again." "Mama," her small voice full of wonder. The mother stroked her hair, her voice heavy. "Yes. But for how long?" She looked at the man by the fire, his eyes lost in memories, his secrets hidden behind silence, and she felt it again. That weight, that question she could not escape. What debt did she owe now? What price would come tomorrow? The city outside roared with fear. Soldiers hunted, neighbors whispered. The war was over, but peace was only an illusion, and in the middle of it all, a human sheltered two aliens. The mother closed her eyes, whispering to herself, "This cannot last," yet in her heart she wished it could, because in this house, for the first time in years, her daughter had slept without freezing, without hunger, without fear, and that fragile peace was worth more than anything, even if it lasted only one night. The night after the soldiers searched the house was heavy with silence. The mother sat close to her daughter, her arms wrapped around the small body. She could feel the girl breathing calmly, safe for now, but her own heart would not rest. The human sat apart, his back against the wall, his face lost in the firelight, his eyes distant. He looked like a man carrying a mountain on his shoulders. Quiet yet restless, the mother finally spoke, her voice sharp. "Why do you do this? Why do you hide us? You risk your life, you risk everything. And for what?" The human did not answer at first, his hands tightening on his knees, his jaw hard. The fire cracked between them, filling the silence. Finally he said, "Because I could not save them." The mother frowned, her voice low. "Save who?" The human turned, his eyes meeting hers, full of shadows. "Children, families, your people. I saw them die in the war. I saw soldiers, my soldiers, burn their homes, cut them down. I was told it was duty, but it was murder. And I stood there, helpless, and I swore to myself never again. The mother's breath caught. His words cut into her chest, she whispered. And now you save us. Because of guilt, the human shook his head. Not guilt, not only guilt. It is a promise I made to the dead, that I would not let the innocent suffer again, no matter their skin, no matter their blood. The daughter stirred in her sleep, turning toward the warmth of the fire, her small face soft and peaceful. The mother brushed her hair gently, her voice bitter but quiet. You speak like no other human I have met. Most see us as animals, most call us less than dirt. And you speak of promises. The human's eyes grew hard. Most men follow orders, most men obey fear. I once obeyed too. But when I saw a child burn, a child who did nothing but cry for his mother, I broke inside. I cannot change the war, but I can choose what I do now. The mother lowered her head, her throat tight. Memories of her own family rushed back. Flames, screams, soldiers kicking down doors, her husband falling, her sister vanishing in smoke. She whispered, I lost everyone, I lost everything. The human's voice softened. And still you fight to keep her alive? He nodded toward the girl. That is strength, more than soldiers with guns. More than rulers with crowns, your strength is what they fear. The mother looked at him with sharp eyes. Or maybe they hate us because we remind them of their cruelty. He said nothing. But his silence was an answer. The daughter suddenly opened her eyes, sitting up, her voice groggy but clear. I dreamed of light, Mama, I dreamed of warmth, no soldiers. No war. She blinked at the human. Do you dream too? The human gave her a small smile, one that looked strange on his scarred face. Yes, child, I dream, but my dreams are heavy. They are filled with ghosts. The girl tilted her head, curious. And do the ghosts speak to you? He looked back into the fire, his voice low. Yes, they ask me why they died. They ask me why I could not save them. The girl's eyes grew sad. Her small hand reached out and touched his arm. But you saved us, she whispered. So maybe one ghost will smile now. The mother felt her chest ache, watching her daughter, watching the man who was supposed to be her enemy. Yet here they were, sharing bread, sharing fire, sharing secrets, but outside, the city was not silent. The sound of drums carried through the night. Soldiers marching, people shouting, posters nailed to walls, orders written in bold letters. The human stood, moving to the window, pulling the curtain aside. They search harder now, he said, his voice tense. They will not stop until they find someone to blame. The mother joined him. Peeking out, she saw soldiers dragging a boy into the street. Not alien, but human, accused of hiding food. The crowd watched in silence. Fear on every face, nobody moved to help. Her stomach twisted. Your people hurt even their own, she whispered. The human nodded, his face dark. Fear does not care who it burns. It only wants fuel. The daughter hugged her mother from behind, whispering, Mama, I do not want to go back out there. I want to stay. The mother kissed her head, her voice trembling. We will stay tonight, child. But tomorrow is unknown. The human closed the curtain. His face set. You will stay as long as I breathe, he said. The mother looked at him, her heart torn between trust and fear. Between hope and doubt, she whispered to herself, one night at a time. And as the fire burned low, the truth lingered heavy in the air. He was their enemy, yet he carried their survival. He was the reason her daughter still breathed. The enemy's truth was simple, and yet it was the most dangerous thing of all, because mercy could change more than bullets, and kindness could spark a fire greater than war. The city grew louder with each passing day. More soldiers in the streets, more whispers in the alleys. Posters nailed on every wall promising rewards for anyone who reported aliens. Fear moved like smoke through every home, choking even those who were innocent. Inside the small house, the mother sat close to her daughter, brushing the child's hair with her fingers. The girl was calmer now, eating, sleeping, smiling in small ways she had forgotten during the war. But the mother's own heart was restless, because she knew peace was a fragile dream. The human returned one evening with bread and dried meat. His boots dirty, his coat heavy with dust. He placed the food on the table without a word, his face hard, his eyes sharper than before. The mother watched him carefully, sensing something heavy on his mind. Finally he spoke, his voice low. They are closing in. More houses searched today. More arrests. The neighbors are watching me. They whisper when I pass. The mother's throat tightened. her arms wrapped tighter around her daughter. "Then it is only a matter of time before they come again," she whispered. The human sat, his shoulders tense. "Today a man stopped me. He works with the soldiers. He offered me freedom. Safety if I give them names, if I give them proof." His words hung in the air like a blade. The daughter looked up, her innocent eyes wide. "Names of who?" she asked softly. The human's gaze fell on her, then on the mother, and he did not answer, because the silence said enough. The mother stood quickly, her voice shaking. "So it comes at last, the price of your kindness, the offer of betrayal, and what will you choose? Human, your own life or ours?" The man's jaw clenched. "Do you think I brought you here to trade you?" His voice cut like steel. "Do you think I kept you safe only to sell you at the first offer?" The mother's eyes burned, anger and fear mixing. "I do not know what to think. I do not know what to trust. Every kindness has a cost. Every shelter has a price. Tell me yours." The daughter clung to her mother's arm, her small voice trembling. "Please stop. Do not fight. Please." The human looked away, his hands gripping the edge of the table. "The choice is mine, but it is also yours," he said. "I can send you away tonight into the ruins. Maybe you survive, maybe not, or I can keep you here, and when they come, we face them together, but if we stay, they will not only kill you, they will kill me too." The room grew heavy with silence. The fire hissed, the wood cracked. The mother's heart pounded as she stared at him, her mind racing. The daughter's voice broke the silence, soft but clear. "I do not want to leave. I do not want to run again. I want to stay here. I want to stay with him." Her words struck the mother deep. She looked at her child, her face fragile but determined, the mother's eyes filled with tears. "You do not understand, child. Staying means death." The girl shook her head, holding both their hands. "No, Mama. Staying means hope." The human looked at the mother, his face steady. "You see, even she knows running is no life. Hiding is no life. If I betray you, I lose my soul. If I protect you, I may lose my life, but at least I will die with honor." The mother turned away, tears slipping down her face. She whispered, "You are a fool." The man gave a faint, broken smile. "Perhaps, but a fool who chooses mercy over fear." That night the mother could not sleep. She lay awake, her daughter curled against her. Breathing softly, she stared at the ceiling, her mind torn apart. She wanted to flee, she wanted to believe, she wanted to live. But the choice weighed heavy. At dawn, the sound of boots echoed again. Closer, louder, voices shouting in the street. "Search the houses, check every corner, the traitor is among us." The mother rose quickly. Panic in her chest, the human was already standing by the door, his face calm, his eyes like stone. "They come," he said. The mother grabbed her daughter, holding her tight, her voice breaking. "What will you do? What will you choose?" The human looked back at them, the firelight flickering on his face, and his answer was clear. "I choose you." He moved to the door, standing tall as if ready to face the storm. The mother's heart thundered. Her daughter's small hand clung to her own. The knock came, hard, violent. Shaking the wood, voices shouted, "Open, or we break it down," the mother whispered, trembling. "This is the end." But the human stood firm, his hand on the handle, his voice steady. "No, this is the beginning." The door shook again, fists pounding, boots stomping outside, voices shouting, "Open it now, or we break it down." The sound filled the small house like thunder. The mother held her daughter tight, her heart racing, her breath sharp. She thought this was the moment death had finally found them. But the human stood tall before the door, his hand firm on the handle, his face calm like stone. "Stay behind me," he said, his voice steady, his eyes burning with something stronger than fear. The mother whispered, "They will kill you," her voice broken, but he only shook his head. "Then let them try." With one strong pull, he opened the door. The cold night rushed in. Soldiers filled the street, lanterns in their hands, rifles ready. Neighbors peeking from windows, their eyes full of suspicion and hunger for gossip. The captain stepped forward, his armor shining in the lantern light, his voice loud. "We know you hide them, hand over the aliens, and you will be spared." The human's jaw tightened. He looked at the crowd, then back at the soldiers, his words sharp. "There are no enemies here, only a mother and her child." Gasps ran through the neighbors. Whispers spread like fire. The mother froze, clutching her daughter, her body trembling. He had spoken the truth out loud, the risk too great. The captain sneered, lifting his rifle. "You betray your own kind, you break the law. You choose filth over blood. his voice heavy with rage. The human stepped forward, blocking the doorway with his body. His voice strong. I choose life, I choose mercy. And if that makes me a traitor, then so be it. The soldiers raised their rifles. The mother cried out, pulling her daughter close. But before the order was given, something unexpected happened. From the crowd a voice rose. A neighbor, old and tired, leave him be. He harms no one. Another voice joined. He feeds the hungry, he helps the weak. He is no traitor. The soldiers looked around uneasy. The crowd grew louder, more voices rising, fear turning into courage. Let them go, enough blood, enough war, the people shouted. The captain's face twisted with anger. He raised his hand to give the order. But the human's voice cut through the noise. Loud and powerful, you call them enemies. But they are only a mother and child. Tell me, Captain, what kind of men fear a child? The silence that followed was heavy. The soldiers hesitated, their rifles still raised. But their eyes flickered, doubt creeping into their faces. The mother felt her breath catch. Her daughter pressed her face against her chest, whispering, Mama, is this real? Are we safe? The captain shouted. Silence, but the people did not obey. Their voices grew stronger, echoing through the street, no more, no more. No more. The soldiers shifted, uneasy, the captain's command broken by the crowd's defiance. He lowered his rifle slowly, his eyes burning with fury. This is not the end, he spat, turning away, his men following, their boots fading into the night. The door was still open, the cold air rushing in, but inside the house warmth spread, not just from the fire, but from something greater, hope. The mother fell to her knees, holding her daughter close. Tears rolling down her face, she whispered, We are alive. We are alive. Her voice trembling with disbelief. The human stood in the doorway, watching the soldiers disappear. His body tense, but his face calm. He turned to them, his voice quiet. It is not over. They will come again, but tonight we won. The daughter ran to him, her small arms wrapping around his leg, her voice soft. You saved us. You saved everyone. The mother rose slowly, her eyes on him, her voice shaking. Why do you carry so much for us? Why do you fight against your own? He looked at her, his face lit by the glow of the fire and the moon, his words steady. Because one night can change everything. One choice, one act of mercy, it begins small, but it can grow, it can spread, and maybe, just maybe, it can heal a world. The mother's eyes filled with tears, her heart torn between fear and something she had not felt in years. Trust? Her daughter smiled brightly, whispering, Then let tonight be the first night, Mama. The night everything changed. The house stood quiet again, the crowd fading, the danger for now gone. But in the air something lingered. A spark, a beginning. The war had taken homes, lives in hope, but tonight, in one small house, a man had chosen differently. A mother had seen mercy where she expected cruelty, and a child had learned that even in the darkest place, light could be found. And as the fire burned, the human whispered to himself, It started with one night and it will never end.